I'm Jonathan McHugh, Secretary of the Guild of Music Supervisors, and we are here at our first annual State of Music and Media Conference at the beautiful Hollywood location for Emerson College. And our friends Grammy Pro are doing the interviews, and I am lucky to be here with composer Trevor Morris. How are you, my friend?
Very well.
Did you enjoy the panel?
I did. It was really enlightening, actually. I learned a few things.
Oh, yeah? What'd you pick up?
It's interesting that from my perspective as a composer, that above me, the music supervisors who are choosing music for, in this case for video games, and how their process works, and how they are ambassadors in a way to trying to keep the value of music alive and as high as it can be, which is important. And we do it as composers, but we don't get to choose always, So just listening to Katie and Steve talk about how much it means to them to do right by the right composer, the right band, the right fit, and make it profitable, which is important too, but also make the music great.
And so for you, who's jumping between TV, film, and video games, you've worked with music supervisors all across the board, right?
Yeah, yes. And some of them are friends and are allies right out of the gate, like Steve Schnurr I just know going in, he's got my back the whole time. Other people I don't get to meet until it's too late, and we just don't develop a rapport. So it's different every time, Some are more focused on the band side or finding the right song for a movie versus the composer side of things. So it kind of varies, but when it fits and you have an ally, it's a great feeling as a composer knowing you've got someone who got your back.
And what instrument did you is your main composing?
I grew up on playing cello and violin, but really piano is my go-to instrument. It's the one that I compose at, and that's what I play the most.
And obviously this is an educational conference, so for the students coming up in the game and trying to learn composition and the dream of breaking into films, what advice would you give them?
My advice is there are a couple different ways to do it. The one that worked for me, the one that I recommend, is to work with another composer. It's actually what I did when I moved to Los Angeles. Find someone who's working, make yourself invaluable to them, and then learn, because the things that you learn on the job you don't learn in school. You can't learn it in Berkeley. You can't learn it at UCLA. You have to go through the process and watch a game get done, watch a film get done, watch a television show get produced, and see it happen and be in the trenches. That's the best way to learn. So that's my advice: is latch onto someone, make your skills invaluable, make yourself indispensable to them, and just open your eyes and your ears and learn.
So how did you, for example, make it into the school of Hans Zimmer to get into, his obviously group of composers that he utilizes? How did you get in there?
It's an interesting question. I have a very strong technical background, which is not common for a lot of composers. I have an engineering mentality and as well as music. And I got in because James Newton Howard was looking for like an assistant engineer to help do like pre-records for recording, basically. So I worked with his engineer, and he didn't even know I wanted to be a composer, and I asked James to work for him. He didn't have a job for me at the time, because this guy down the street might have a job for you. His name is Hans. Why don't you go look him up? And
That's amazing.
That was kind of it.
So the technical side, so you would encourage students to really have their technical chops down as much as possible, because you never know. You got in the room where he was working,
Yep.
but you didn't get in the room working for him, but yet you ended up getting...
I can't overstate this enough. There's no longer pencil and paper and piano. This is a craft-based job. Craft is not talent. You're not born with it. Craft is learned, and craft requires tools. And you need to manage and master a tool like Pro Tools, for example. It's not good enough that you're a good composer anymore. You have to be able to do this all on your own. So I think craft and technical skill is a great way to get in the door. That's the first thing I look for when I'm hiring someone to work for me, is before I even hear your music, what are your skill set? What can you help me with?
Right, which is when I hire students, I ask, what are your skill sets? How can you help?
How can you help?
How can you help me? Well, I'm weak in technical. Can you be strong in technical? Yep. I can teach you, I could learn you, I could introduce you to tons of people, but can you cover that base?
Exactly.
So for you, it's the same type of thing.
Very much so. And at the end of the day, if I get hired by someone to do a video game score, I'm being hired to produce music, not to tech a computer or to work on the IT or internet sound. I need people to take care of the things to free me up to focus on what I do best. And a lot of that's technical based.
Interesting. And so for you, this event, our first annual guild event, you guys as composers have tried before to get a guild together, but it's never quite happened. And yet, here we are, we're actually doing it, and we finally got Emmy voting rights. So what are your thoughts as far as the composer-supervisor relationship, as far as, how you work with people,
in terms of the guild thing, I think it's great for you guys, and it's come up in the composing world, which is a non-unionized, we have no collective bargaining rights. So we're kind of gypsies that way. but I'm kind of used to it at this point. But working with music supervisors, I think they just got Emmy voting rights this year, right? Which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing. So I work very closely with my music supervisors on my television shows because they're picking songs and in the style of the score and how do they hand off to each other. So there is definitely crossover there where the nuances are important. So I think it's what I said earlier. If you find the right fit, it's a really great collaboration.
Great. Well, really appreciate you coming out and supporting first annual event. Ladies and gentlemen, Trevor. He's a composer and he's good.